Macronutrients. It's a term that you've probably heard of before, but what do they actually mean? Firstly, it's important to understand that nutrients have two major categories, macronutrients and micronutrients, which we will cover in another video. Macronutrients are required by the body in large quantities. They're responsible for providing the body energy, or calories, and are important for the growth and development. There are three major macronutrients: carbohydrates, fats, and protein. Alcohol is also considered to be a macronutrient because of the energy it supplies to the diet if it is consumed. So let's look at the three major macros, one by one. First, carbohydrates. This is our body's go-to source of fuel. They are required in the largest amounts because the role in the body is that they provide our muscles with fuel in the form of glycogen. So when we consume food, that gets broken down into the blood sugar glucose, which then gets transported to our muscles to be utilized for energy. This is what helps you get through your training program. It is also very important to the central nervous system, or your brain. It is your brain's major source of fuel. So when you're feeling flat, when you're feeling fatigued, tired, it could be that you're running low on fuel or carbohydrate. Secondly, it spares protein. In terms, it reserves that for when you're training, so it preserves muscle mass. Everyone's requirements for carbohydrates will differ depending on your age, gender, height, and weight, but more importantly, the type of training program that you are engaging in, and also the intensity of that program. Someone who is very physically active every day will require more carbohydrate in their diet. And people who are more sedentary throughout their day and throughout the week, who train less, will probably require less carbohydrate. Those who might be ill or have certain health conditions may also require more carbohydrates. However, those who might have a food intolerance or a food allergy might have to avoid certain foods that contain certain carbohydrates. When we talk about carbohydrates, let's look at some good sources. Firstly, and probably in the most abundant, we have your whole grains. This means breads, cereals, pastas, and rice. We also have dairy with your cheese, your milk, your creams, and your yogurts. Another good source of carbohydrate is fruits, preferably coming from whole fruit or fresh fruit juices. And then, of course, we have vegetables as well. Sugar is also considered to be a carbohydrate. Let's look at the second macronutrient we're talking about today, protein. Protein is absolutely vital for life. When we eat protein, it's broken down into 9 essential amino acids. They are called essential amino acids because the body cannot produce them itself. We therefore have to get them through the diet. The role of protein in the diet is that it is responsible for building lean muscle mass, or at least maintaining muscle. It's also an important energy source. It also plays the role of building structures such as bone, hair, minerals, skin, and also muscle. Fat is the most energy dense of all the macronutrients, meaning that per gram it contains the most amount of calories. This does not mean that fat will equal fat gain. In actual fact, it can play a very good role in the assistance of weight loss and weight maintenance, in the fact that it is really good for satiety and making you feel fuller for longer. When we talk about fats, we think of two major components. You have your healthy fats and your unhealthy fats. Healthy fats can be broken down further into your monounsaturated fats, which sources contain avocados and also extra virgin olive oil and other plant-based oils. Then you have your polyunsaturated fats, and these are things that are your omega-3 fatty acids, which come from oily fish such as salmon, sardines, anchovies, mackerel and swordfish, as well as supplementation. And you also have other plant-based oils as well as nuts and seeds. Your unhealthy fats consist of trans fatty acids and also triglycerides. These can be predominantly found in foods such as deep fried, fast foods, commercially baked foods such as biscuits, cakes, pastries, and these can have a detrimental effect on the body. These can elevate levels of cholesterol, elevate blood pressure, and lead to a risk of cardiovascular disease. Saturated fat is also another fat which is quite controversial. Over the years, it has been seen as something that is considered to be poor for your health. However, new research is showing that certain saturated fats coming from grass-fed beef and also coconut oil have some positive health effects. So when it comes to fat consumption, it's really about a balance and making sure that you're consuming the right amount of your healthy fats and limiting those that are considered to be your unhealthy fats.